Good afternoon. I am retired Senior Master Sergeant Chris Eddington. I am the Air Force, is it on? All right. I am the Air Force Junior ROTC instructor at Randolph-Macon Academy. We're really glad to be here after 2 years of COVID. We haven't gotten out to the community much, and now we're finally getting out more and able to do events in this local community. We're going to do a presentation of the colors. We're going to play, the bagpiper is going to play a regimental song, and then I'm going to lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then you may take your seats. So at this time I ask you, please rise. If you're a gentleman, please remove your cap, and we will present the colors. Thank you.
Forward, arch. Color turn, arch.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for coming to us here at the Humane Society of Warren County. I'm Megan Bowers, I'm the Executive Director, and I would like to introduce you to my very dear friend, Mr. Malcolm Barr. We are both animal lovers and we enjoy celebrating the many ways that they enrich our lives. As you know, I love my companion animals at home, but animals have served us as humans in so many ways since the dawn of time. Malcolm can share our very long history in Front Royal of Dogs of War with you, and so without further ado, we have our former Board of Directors President of the Humane Society and my very dear friend, Mr. Malcolm Barr. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to this memorial in tribute to the dogs of war and to those dogs that serve our local law enforcement, one over there, in town and counties here and across the nation. And what a day we have. Sunshine at last for this Memorial Day ceremony. First, let me introduce our four-legged guest over here. Is that Bosco?
Bosco.
As Bosco takes care of us while we're all sleeping. Hey, Bosco. Yep, he knows his name.
Got a treat?
Are you front row? Or,
Yes, sir. I'm
police?
front row police department.
Yeah. I wanted you to know where Bosco comes from, and we'll go ahead with invitations. Pardon me, with introductions beyond Bosco and Corporal Klingerman. You heard the bagpiper. His name's Jim Lunt, and I'm very grateful to him for coming along. Jim, as you know, you add a lot to occasions such as this. Don't see him. Oh, there he is. Where are we? I've lost my place. Anyway, thanks to Jim, and we appreciate your time and talent. Also, please give a hand to the cadets of Randolph-Macon Academy who've interrupted their graduation weekend. They've interrupted their graduation weekend celebrations to be with us and help with our Salute the Dogs of War. And thank you, Doug Medder, for setting up our, Doug's my neighbor. I always go to him for whatever I can't do myself. Anyway, he set up the audio system for us today. Thanks, appreciate it, Doug Medder. The biggest shout out from me is for the Humane Society of Warren County team and its executive director, Megan Bowers, who you've heard from. And they have provided this sacred plot of ground on where we're standing, and hope it'll be here for forever. Meanwhile, let me briefly explain how we came to build this Garden of Remembrance and how specific it is to the town of Front Royal. It was from our town that the first fully trained war dogs were sent into early battles of World War II. They came directly from Front Royal, fully trained. Ultimately, the U.S. Army took over as hundreds, if not thousands, of fully trained dogs were inserted into the ranks with a mission to protect our troops, while at the same time helping these soldiers rout out the enemy. I visited several since, but I happened upon my first war dog cemetery while assigned as a military rider to cover just a small part of the Vietnam War in the 1960s. It was on the distant island of Guam, where my United States Air Force guide led me into a jungle clearing where the remains of 22 dogs were buried, all with an identifying number or marker. The memory of the quiet, off the beaten path spot has remained with me since I knelt there more than 50 years ago. I visited canine cemeteries in America and countries in Europe since my Pacific adventures, and last year talked over the prospect of setting up a similar quiet spot here with Miss Bowers. 1 year later, here we are. Tomorrow, by the way, I better give a shout to my co-chair on these Memorial Day weekends, Rob McDougall. Tomorrow, the downtown ceremony will be held starting at noon at the courthouse with Rob McDougall presiding. Now I'd like to introduce you two of my colleagues, Skip Duncan of Able Forces, who himself was a military dog handler, followed by Michael Williams, whose father handled military dogs during the time of the war in Vietnam. Skip, come ahead, it's your turn.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Skip Rogers. I want to thank you all for being here. A real shout out to our future leaders and possibly our future military leaders that are here today. God bless you guys. I know this is a big day for you, and to share a bit of that with us, it means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to everyone. So God bless you and in your journey through RMA, an incredible institution to be a part of. I also want to thank the corporal and your dog, Bosco. I look at that dog and I think about mine. I'll tell you about him in a minute. I can't tell you what it's like. I know you're feeling having a dog with you 24/7, and it's a real special thing to have an animal like that. So a little bit about Dogs of War. I volunteered for the draft back in 1968. It was a very, very different time in this country. And as a problem first-year college student who realized I needed some discipline in my life, I just happened to be a law enforcement major at the time, and that's probably why I ended up being selected as a draftee into the military police. That was very, very special. At the time, we had height, weight restrictions. I was on the edge always of height and weight, and I wasn't belt lined, as they say, and redirected to another MOS. So I stayed in MP school, and then I drew a ticket that is one of the prides of the military. Law enforcement, it doesn't matter. To be able to be a dog handler in the military is one of those golden rings. It is extremely special, and I was fortunate enough to be able to go to Lackland Air Force Base, primary training center, as it still is, for the initial training of our dogs, of our military dogs. Since the beginning of our military service, working dogs have literally saved the lives of tens of thousands of warriors in combat and in the various roles they've played over the years. In Korea, they are credited at saving 65% or reducing casualties by 65% for the work they performed, and we'll talk about that in a moment. They were trained, as they are now, to act as scouts, as trackers, as guards, and now more recently our dogs are being trained in virtually every area of law enforcement and military operations. They are paratroopers. They jump with our troops. Our dogs, our military dogs, are some of the finest trained animals in the world. Little comment on Vietnam. There were about 4,000 dogs in Vietnam, and at the time, and as well as my time, dogs were not allowed to come back to this country. If there was a dog overseas, the dog stayed overseas. And in country, in Vietnam, there were over 4,000 that served and again acted in a variety of ways that were assigned to various company, platoon, and squad details, which meant that handler and that dog, if you were out with your squad of 7, 8 guys, that dog in an infantry setting or in a combat situation, that dog ran point. That dog and that handler was generally at the spearhead of any confrontation. In Iraq, the Taliban made dog handlers and their dog #1 target. If they could get rid of the dog, and if they could get rid of that handler, that freed up a tremendous amount of space that they could control, given that that dog knew where they were at any given time. At the height of operations in about 2012, 2013, there were 500 working dogs in Iraq, and approximately 2,500 supported military operations during that time. '92 canines were killed in action in Afghanistan. And you really get a sense of the value of a canine, a war dog, in operations. When a soldier, sailor, airman, Coast Guardsman, if you're taken down, you have immediate medical response from not only your team members, but from evacuation teams and so forth. The exact same treatment is given to our military dogs. When a military dog is shot, it is no different than a soldier or a serviceman that's been injured in combat. Let me give you just one example. I've got a couple here, but I'm going to give you one example of a dog that I knew that was at Lackland Air Force Base in 1969 when I was going through training. In 1966, the largest Air Force base in Vietnam was Tan Son Nhut. It was the seat of virtually all air military operations, certainly in the early parts of this war. And on duty one night in 1966 was a specialist, an airman second class, Bob Thornberg, and his dog Nemo. Now Nemo's story is remarkable. He was a perimeter dog. He was basically there to sniff. That's his role. And I want to give you just kind of an idea about the nose of these dogs. When you or I in our kitchen, let's say we're making pot roast. Well, when we come into the kitchen, we smell pot roast. But that dog smells meat, he smells potatoes, he smells corn. He smells everything in that pot, and he can isolate those. Their nose is remarkable. Nemo that night, along with his handler, sniffed out VC that they were running point in looking at Tan Son Nhut and vulnerable spots that they could attack. Nemo picked up on that, and his handler and Nemo engaged a number of Viet Cong. Thornberg was shot. Nemo was shot. He lost his eye, but it gave Thornberg enough time to be able to call to his CO and set up a counterattack. And Nemo was credited with saving Tan Son Nhut Air Force Base in 1966. This is so important that when I was there in 69, Nemo had a real nice run, and he had his plate, Nemo, the hero dog of Tan Son Nhut Air Force Base. But now if you go there, there is a memorial to Nemo. And those of us that served at the time look at a dog like that as a image of all of our warriors and our warrior animals that run point, that will take the first bullet, and that have saved countless lives. There's so many stories that I could share with you. I just want to say their contribution to the military is the ultimate sacrifice. That's why they're there. They are there, if needed, to take a bullet and to die to protect our warriors. The dogs of war from the earliest times have been instrumental in victories. They've been inspirational. I want to say that as a former dog handler, I could not have had a better experience in the military. My dog, Kim, 1A25, right? Everyone in the military gets a number. I got my number. Every military guy that might be here has his numbers. Well, the military dogs do also. Kim was his name. He was a 105-pound German Shepherd. I have a picture of that, of my dog in a number of places that remind me of him almost every day. We need to think about not only our soldiers, not only the warriors and service members that take care of us, but all the supporting cast that does as well. Malcolm, I appreciate you having given me an opportunity to speak on this day for our dogs. I want to say God bless each of you, God bless America, and a big hooah to any of my Army brothers or sisters that may be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Skip. I'd now like to introduce to you my colleague and friend, Michael Williams. I've asked Michael to give a short dissertation on the dogs of war, the law enforcement dogs, and all. But in addition, to give a blessing to the dogs worldwide, and particularly the dogs here, and specifically our friend Ben. We're calling him Ben. Michael.
Thank you, Malcolm. I too want to thank the cadets from Randolph-Macon Academy for being here. RMA has a special place in my heart. I had the joy of serving there for 20 years as a student life director. My son Alan graduated from there in 2020, and we're the guardians for a Vietnamese boy who, come hell or high water, is going to graduate next spring. Yeah. So I'm also very thankful for Tony Klingerman. His daughter Haley was a student of mine when I was at the RMA Middle School, and Haley was the president of our Interact Club then, and she now just completed her first year at Emory and Henry College, so Emory and Henry University. So thankful for Tony and his dog. And what an honor to be asked to offer a prayer for our four-footed soldiers. As those of you who know me already know, my late father and hero, Sergeant Robert Beverly Williams, better known as Bob, was a canine handler and trainer in the U.S. Air Force. The biggest frustration and sadness that my father shared with me while serving his country was not the danger that he was constantly in. It was the fact that at the time that he served, military dogs were considered equipment. As such, it was policy that once a dog had served its purpose for the Air Force, they, like other equipment, were destroyed. Now imagine, if you will, a beautiful animal whose only job was to keep you alive was not able to go home with you, even though you wanted to take the animal home, and the animal was fine, all because of a policy. Fortunately, the higher authorities of the U.S. military and U.S. Air Force and U.S. military finally decided that allowing service members to adopt their service dogs once they were decommissioned was not only okay, but actually a pretty good idea. For many canine handlers, like my late father, who suffered from post-traumatic stress, more commonly referred to today as PTSD, seeing a memorial dedicated to these four-legged friends who, among many other roles, serve among many other roles, dedicated their lives to protecting our two-footed heroes, makes this son of his only hero extremely grateful. Thank you, Malcolm, for seeing this vision to reality. Now, if you will, please pause with me to offer our sincere thanks for our four-footed soldiers. Almighty God, creator of us all and all things, thank you for this opportunity today, in a country so divided, in a world in such disarray, to take just a few minutes to pause and offer thanks for those so easily forgotten. To some, pets are only seen as fun, playful toys, who give us joy for a period of time. To others, these creatures are our family from the time they enter our lives to the memories far beyond. To a handful of our first responders, warriors, and heroes, they are the reason that our two-footed soldiers and heroes are able to go home at night. Whether they are trying to find something or someone that will bring us harm or protect our physical well-being, these two-footed heroes are truly worthy of remembering for their sacrifices to our community and country. We thank you for them. We honor them. We cherish their memories. Let us never take their contributions to our communities, country, or world for granted. Thank you for the memories we have of them and the ones we look forward to in the days and years ahead. As we visit this place today and in the future, let us do so with the love, reverence, and respect which these beautiful souls so richly earned and certainly deserve. Finally, I personally thank you for people like my friend Malcolm Barr, for his life, his love of animals, and the life that he has chosen to live so that others, whether four-footed or two, are never forgotten. Amen.
Thank you, Michael. And to end this ceremony today, I call on Megan Bowers to come forward and to lay a wreath, which Purcell Florists generously donated again this year. And that would then be the end of our wreath ceremony. We go right behind the white. I'd like to thank you all for coming today and remind you that tomorrow on Main Street at the County Courthouse grounds, Lieutenant Colonel Rob McDougall will be officiating at the town's annual ceremony, along with another group of people. So once again, thank you. Thank you, officer. Appreciate you bringing Bus to visit with us. And everybody, thank you.